All right, it's good to see everyone. Happy spring, and looking forward to getting practice one going today. But before we start, I'd like to take a brief moment and just really congratulate Peyton Manning. Has meant so much to this great institution, the state of Tennessee, Knoxville, everything. And you know, I value our friendship, and I know today is a very, very special day for him, and just wanted to let him know that we're thinking about him, our players are thinking about him, and he truly is a legend, and we're proud to call him a Ball for life. So in terms of Team 120, we've had a very, very productive off season. To me, this is the most exciting time of the year. You know, it's all about reinventing yourself, establishing your identity as a football team. It's the first time that Team 120 takes the field, and really, again, learning situational football, creating habits. We've spoken all off season that, you know, in the last 18 games, we're 13-5 as a football program, and those 5 losses have come from a combined total of 25 points. So we're searching for those 25 points in everything that we do, in everything. And those 25 points are everywhere, but they're the hardest 25 points to score. So everything is about improvement, and it's everyone taking own self-determination for their own individual improvement. And as we all know, when you improve individually, you improve collectively as a football team. You know, it's all about time spent versus value received. We have to make sure that we make the most of it. As you all know, we'll practice today, we'll practice Tuesday, we'll practice Thursday, and then we go on spring break. And it's going to be how do we handle the installations, retention of information when we come back from spring break. And I think that will tell us again a little bit of the maturity of our football team. This offseason has all been about leadership as well. I think we have some individuals that really are asserting themselves as team leaders, as program leaders for Team 120. And it's really putting our players in the channel of success every day. And that channel of success comes from fundamentals, fundamental improvement. Coach Shoup talks about it all the time, techniques over tactics with everything that we're doing. And we're going to start from ground zero. It's like football 101 with blocking, tackling, running the football, catching the football, starting from ground zero. And we have to have focus, concentration in everything that we do. We're talking about contesting. This is a conference that everything is contested. Nothing in this conference goes uncontested. So contesting every practice, every class, every meeting, making sure that we're better for it each and every day. In terms of position changes, we'll have 3 individuals go through different positions. The first one is Austin Smith. Austin will move from linebacker to defensive end. Micah Abernathy will move from corner to safety and also continue to compete at the nickel position. And then Jason Kroom will move from receiver to tight end. All 3 individuals have done a tremendous job this offseason and really embracing that. And I know we're looking forward as coaches to really seeing them on the field with their different respective positions. In terms of players out for the spring, I'm not going to get into specifics of the injuries, but we'll have 11 players out. We didn't tell Coach Shoup this when we hired him, but he may have to play a little defensive line this spring. We have 5 defensive linemen out: Derek Barnett, Shai Tuttle, Kendall Vickers, Kyle Phillips, and Andrew Butcher. Also Jay Sean Robertson and Chance Hall in the offensive line, and then Evan Berry, Josh Malone, Joe Stockstill, and Joe Young will be out this spring. So we're going to really focus on getting them back. We should have all these individuals back by June when we start our summer phase of our football program. And I know these players are still going to work hard with the mental effort, mental intensity that it takes. And they'll spend a lot of time while practice is going on in the training room, but also in the weight room, doing the things that they can do to make themselves a better football player. In closing, we just have to continue to focus on the process, and we can't get ahead of ourselves. We have to work to win each and every day, and it starts today. It starts with the team meeting at 2:30, and it's focusing on that climb and not the mountain. And so many times everyone wants to look at what's ahead. We just have to focus one step at a time with this football team. But I love their attitude, I love their mindset, and I know everybody's looking forward to practice. So I'll answer any questions you may have, or Coach Shoup or Coach DeBoard. And lastly, I promise we'll get to your questions, but the other thing that we've gone through, as you all know, is 2 new coaches. And I think change has been very, very healthy with Coach Shoup and the different things that he's brought to the table, different ideas. Coach Scott as well. Our players have really gravitated towards him, and they've been great additions to our football family. And so we're proud to have them, and I know they're looking forward to getting out and really doing what they do, and that's coach football.
We'll start with Jimmy. Coach Shoup, if you want to have that mic, and then Butch and Coach DeBoard can share. Go ahead, Jimmy.
Butch, at the safety position, is there a chance you might look at Golden there some, and is there a chance you might look at Juwan Jennings there?
Right now, we won't look at Juwan Jennings right now. Right now, we want him to really focus on the receiver position. This will be his first spring with going through playing the wide receiver position. In terms of Rashawn, yes, we will look at him as safety and nickel.
Austin?
Butch, for you and Coach DeBoard, Vincent Perry going to be back. Just talk about what he brings and what kind of different dynamic he'll bring, especially considering he was starting to kind of take a big stride forward last year in that open practice before he got hurt.
Well, he was taking many strides and moving forward, and we're anxious to see what he could do. I know it's been a long process for him. He's still nagged a little bit by a hamstring issue, so I don't know how much he'll actually be full go today. But he's worked exceptionally hard in the training room and getting himself back. And we really need him for all these practices for his individual improvement. And I don't want to speak for Coach DeBoer, but really, seeing what he can do and how he fits into the offensive scheme of things.
Yes, sir, Coach.
The one thing I would say is that we, as an offensive coaching staff, were really encouraged by what we saw out of him before he got injured. And as Coach said, this spring will be critical to him to continue to learn the techniques, continue to learn the system, and so we can also see what he can bring to the offense.
Yeah, right here. Paul, then Brent, then Steve.
Butch, Bob, you guys talked about the move of Austin Smith to defensive end. What did you see out of him that led to that move? And in terms of defensive line depth, are there defensive ends you want to move inside the tackles, and some of those guys will be out as well?
Right. Well, some just by sheer stature and size, they won't be able to be moved inside. But in terms of Austin Smith, continues to grow and get bigger. I believe he's over 250 plus pounds right now, and he has an explosiveness off the edge. He's done a great job of really using the hand tactics and the different techniques through skill development that are associated with that position. And we all know that he can run. He's very, very physical. He's very explosive. So I think that's just going to add to the overall depth, the overall component of the defensive end position. And then you look at some individuals that we had the luxury of redshirting, starting with Darrell Taylor. Can't wait to see him. He has had as good of an offseason as any player in our football program. He's added the size, the stature, and I know he's looking forward to playing football.
Yeah, I agree. I think, you always look to try to put as much productive speed as you possibly can on the field, and we all are well aware of what Derek Barnett can do. We're aware of what some of these other guys can do, but I'm really excited to see Darrell Taylor and Austin Smith this spring. Mixon's another guy, defensive end, we're excited about as well. We've seen Vereen, we've seen LaTroy Lewis. As far as moving a guy inside, it's funny, you're always trying to be creative on passing downs, whether it's second and long, third and long, and we've used creative ways of getting 3 DNs in the game, whether it was, not in the spring, but in the fall, putting Derek Barnett at a 3 technique, finding a mismatch, things like that. So, when the situation arises this spring, we'll give those guys an opportunity to rush from the inside as well.
Brent, Steve, and then Patrick.
Butch, for the first time, you may not be the youngest team in the Southeastern Conference or in college football. How do you manage this spring in terms of, you got guys with experience now, you're not necessarily establishing a culture. How do you manage a team with expectations and experience compared to what you've gone through with this program the last 3 years in the spring?
Well, first of all, it's great when we go out to practice today. Everybody knows where to go. They know the standard, they know the expectations, they know what's required of them. It's been great from a coaching standpoint because you never assume anything. And so having Coach Shoup and Coach Scott on board, we've had to go back and redefine everything as a coaching staff of what we want. But, you know, our players have worked very, very hard to put themselves in these conversations, but that's all they are, is conversations. Team 120 has not played one snap of football. You know, when rankings come out and all the expectations, those are based on last year's football team. And so we have to go and we have to prove ourselves every day. And that's where we get Brent to focus on the process. Just work to be better each and every day. Don't look what tomorrow holds. Don't look for what next week or a month holds from now. Because I think sometimes you can get ahead of yourself, and when you don't focus on the present is when you lose something. So again, it's focusing on the process. We have one goal for spring, and that's improvement. If every individual can improve as a football player, then we become a better football team. And they're responsible for that. We as coaches are responsible for that, and even improvement from us as coaches. When I talked about this is the best time of year because you always have to reinvent yourself. The great ones always find a way to reinvent themselves, always find a way to improve and do something better. We can't be the same coaching staff we were last year. We can't be the same players we were last year. We all have to continue to grow and develop and get better, and that's what spring is for.
You got Steve, then Patrick, Heather, Jimmy, and Austin.
Just with all the stuff that's gone on the last few weeks, how concerned are you about that affecting affecting the focus of the team, just all the noise with the lawsuit and stuff? And what have you told the players in that regard, just in terms of staying focused and doing the right things and that type of thing?
Our players have been very focused, very driven. You know, we've had the best off season we've had since we've been here. Very driven, both academically and athletically. So I don't see that being an issue one bit. I can tell you this: I know they're really excited to get out on the football field today and play football and do what they do. But you know, they've worked hard to earn this right to go out and have a great spring football. Now it's on us, now it's on them. But I know they're excited, and I know we're excited, and we're looking forward to getting out there.
Yeah, Patrick?
Butch, what's the latest on Shy Tuttle and his recovery?
You know, Shy continues to progress. He just had the screws taken out from the second surgery on his foot. So he'll continue to progress. He will, you know, it's really day by him and how the body heals. You know, we're hoping maybe by early July, late June. That's kind of the target date, but we'll know probably every 2 or 3 weeks on how he's progressing. But I've been very proud of him because he's really kept his demeanor up. He's been very positive. He's really focused on the mental part of his game, and then he's really focused on developing his upper body. And, you know, it's hard for a young man, you know, first year in the program and suffers that type of injury that he's had and the recovery that's associated with that injury. And he's handled it remarkably well, and I think his teammates have done a good job around him.
Heather?
That's all right. Mike, just...
Now you're hogging the mic.
I know. Mike, after going back and reviewing last season in the offense, just where do you think the passing game can maybe take strides this offseason to maybe become more consistent and more efficient?
Well, we've broken down our entire offense, and we looked at different types of improvement that we need to make, and we need to improve all facets of offense. And to answer your question, we've got to improve our passing game at all positions. That starts with protection. We've got to do a better job of being firm inside and protecting the edges with the tackles. And we've got to be more accurate with our throw game. Receivers, they got to work on releases. And they've really been working hard in skill development on the breaking point. That's another aspect we've got to get better at. Running backs, they want to get better at pass pro. So all parts of our offense have to get better. But to answer your question, we've broken it down by position, we've broken it down by the entire unit, and those are the things we're going to really strive at getting better at this spring.
Heather, then Jimmy, and then Bryce. Now,
Coach DeBoard, it looks like Kyler Kerbyson is going to leave a big hole for you guys to fill this spring, not only from a player perspective, but also from a leadership perspective. How intense do you think that position battle is going to be, and how many different players are you thinking of repping there?
Well, we're going to have competition at all positions, and that's the way Coach Jones has set up the entire program. And so what we will do is starting today, we'll start that process of evaluating all positions and rotating people at all positions, you know. And we've always said, you know, Coach Jones always said this about the program: we're going to play the 5 best guys. And so you know, there might be somebody on the right side that goes over and gets reps at the left side, and et cetera. So we'll start that process today. And the leadership part of the question, I thought last year that, you know, we had great leadership, and I think Kyler did an unbelievable job, but we also had position leadership there. And we talk about power of the position. Dylan Wiseman was a great leader. I see Coleman Thomas now stepping up as a leader. So that Kirby set the standard this past year there, and that's just going to continue for those guys to push it.
Jimmy and then Bryce.
Butch, the Ivy League has indicated that they may do away with all contact in practice, even during the regular season. What measures do you take to try to ensure that you've got a healthy roster, and do you consider cutting back on contact?
Well, that's obviously a very hot topic, and everything is about the safety and welfare of our players, and that's why we've invested so much in the sports science. And there's so much that goes into it from, you know, if you really look at it, from just taking care of your bodies, both mentally and physically, from the sleep to the hydration to the proper nutrition to the technique and the fundamentals. But, you know, you have to jump in the pool to learn how to swim. And, you know, to cut out all tackling, I think it's going to set itself up. I would be very, very concerned, because how do you, you know, effectively teach tackling? How do you teach safe tackling? We monitor that. We monitor every live rep that every player has in our program, whether it's practice, whether it's in live game situations. So we're on top of that. And it's a balancing act. If you really look at last year's football team, after, I want to say, the third or fourth week, we never practiced in full pads again. So we were in shells and then uppers. And again, everything is about fundamentals, and you know, you kind of go to an NFL model. We researched a lot of NFL teams because of the lack of tackling in their practice structure, and how are they able to become great tacklers. You look at the Denver Broncos this year on defense, they really set the standard on tackling. And a few years ago, it was the Seattle Seahawks. So, you know, all of us, led by Coach Shoup, our defensive staff, myself, all of us have really researched tackling and how can we effectively continue to coach it and practice it, but maybe getting some of the contact out of it as well.
Bryce.
Bob, for you, going into your first spring as coordinator, how do you evaluate right here? How do you evaluate as you go along what you're trying to get done, and do you like the break right after 1 week of practice?
I do. I've never done that before, but I'm kind of excited about it. And Coach used the phrase before, techniques over tactics. And we really kind of, it's been exciting to me to work with Coach DeBoer, because we've really worked together. Hey, this is what we need on defense. Hey, this is what we need on offense. Working together as a staff's been kind of, you know, a real refreshing thing for me. So we've divided in the teaching, kind of treat this like a mini camp, so to speak. The first 2 days are non-padded, as you know, anyway. So teaching the fundamentals, teaching the techniques, as Coach Jones put, football 101, taking a break, digesting from there, and then building as we progress here, getting to, you know, the week after spring break, then the week after that, then the week after that, then finally the orange-white game. So this progression is exciting to me, and for me personally, what I want to get done is I want to evaluate our personnel, find out what the skill set is of each player, you know, find out who our contributors can be, who's our best 11, who's our next best 11, identify their strengths and put those players in a position that they can be successful and help Team 120.
And then Debo, for you, approaching your second spring here, how is it different for you? Do you feel like you can do a lot more because you returned so many key pieces? And then a year ago, you spent a lot of time pre-spring with Dobbs. Have you done that similarly this year, and what was the focus?
Yes, I think that, you know, anytime you start a second year with anything, you've got experience behind you. And, you know, I had experience working with Butch before, but it was a different role. And so, I mean, I've really learned even more so about our offense as we've gone through this. And I did that during the season, too. And I think if you quit learning about your players, quit learning about your scheme, about the defense, anything, then you're in trouble. And so I just feel like that experience that we had this past year has been good. And it's also, it kind of gave me a little bit of where we are and where we need to get to that point. But I'm excited about this spring, and I'm excited about the focus. You asked about Josh Dobbs. We've been working with him in the skill development like we have with all of our quarterbacks. We've really been trying to break down the technique part of that position and make him better, just like we are all of our players to continue to improve at that position. And he's had great focus, as has all of the quarterbacks. So I look forward to seeing what we do on the field today.
We're going to finish up with Austin, Seth, Matt Slovan, Dustin, and Danny Parker.
Butch, you were talking about evolving a minute ago as a staff. How will you evolve this year? You're always active on the mic on the practice field, but with upperclassmen now, they can kind of play into that role. Will you be less active on the mic?
Yes, and if you can, I think when you go to develop your football program, they understand the standards and expectations. But I'm on the mic because I love the coach. And, sometimes if I can get after a veteran in good spirit, they look forward to that. But, it is great now having individuals in your football program that truly understand, that have, been here a number of years. And, you talked about Kyler Kervison a little bit, John, in terms of leadership. That's what starts happening when you have an established football program now. Your younger players learn from your older players, and they learn how it's done. And, tradition, excellence, a legacy, it's all about handing down from class to class to class. And we're starting to get that now. Are we where we need to be? No. But I still see that developing and formulating all the time. I believe in the can-I principle, constant, never-ending improvement. That's what it's all about. Right after signing day, we boarded a plane and we spent 3 days in Tampa with John Gruden. We've had a number of staffs come in. I've done a number of research projects with other head coaches, with a lot of different aspects of our job that it entails. And to me, you always have to continue to grow. You always have to continue to learn. We're studying the word grit, and what grit means. And it's the tendency to stay focused on long-term goals and never be distracted, and to keep your focus on the task at hand and, the deliberate practice. And we spoke about to our players and to our coaches that, our practices have to exceed the skill level of our players. That's the only way you get better. Practice has to be harder, and again, it has to be higher than their skill level. And when your demands of practice are higher than their skill level, that's when they're going to improve. So, it's been a very, very good offseason. It's been one of the fastest off seasons that you can imagine. And we just got done playing January 1st. The players had a week off, and then you have a week off when they get here due to the rules. So they've had a very short amount of time in our off-season program, and everything has been fast, which I think has been good, because I think constant, sudden change, everything really keeps their attention.
Seth?
Coach Jones, a couple of players were involved in the Office of Diversity protest over the weekend. Do you support them in voicing their opinions on social issues, and what kind of conversations do you have with them on how to do that properly and responsibly?
Oh, absolutely. They're just more than football players. They're students. And, and I respect that. And obviously we support them. And, they have a platform, they have a stage, because they're a student athlete here at the University of Tennessee. And as long as it's done the right way and it represents them, it represents our program, it represents the university, but I fully support them.
Butch, the statement you put out there didn't explicitly deny that you told Jerry Bowles he betrayed the team. Are you explicitly denying that?
Yeah, I made a statement, and we'll stick behind the statement, and I'd appreciate it if you could keep it to spring football today. That's what this press conference is all about.
Dustin and then Danny?
I'm going to go a little bit off topic and try this, but you talked a lot about culture when it's come to some of these questions. You talked about the 4th and 1 program and the guest speakers that you had and some of the stuff like that. One of the speakers you had was Kathy Redmond-Brown. And I've talked to her a few times. She talked a little bit about how difficult it is for a coach to kind of get some of the messages across, because when it comes to dealing with kids, a lot of times when you're trying to get them to do the right thing, you're kind of saying, here's what you can get by doing the right thing. Here are some of the rewards that come with that. And the problem is that society tells them in some cases that women can be rewards, and that's how they're viewed in some cases. And also, as a coach, a lot of times you're trying to get your team to act like a family, basically. You want them to look out after each other. And in some cases that can be an issue because they're going to be defensive of each other, basically. And if one of them gets into trouble, they're going to try to protect them as opposed to maybe trying to help a victim or something like that. What have you learned from people like Kathy Redmond-Brown and other speakers that you've had about how to get your message across so that the players don't infer something problematic.
Well, I think, that is that program, 4th and 1, and it's all about personal growth and development. And it's bringing different individuals in with maybe different deliveries that really believe in the same thing, that really speak the same message, but maybe their delivery is a little bit different. And that's why we have a variety of topics. That's why we have a variety of speakers. We talk about making the right choices and the right decisions every single day. It's just like, again, I go back, it's like raising your family. And all of us that have children understand you try to raise them the right way. I have 3 boys and we've raised them the same way, and they all have a different personality about themselves. They have a different way, the way they perceive things, so that's why we try to have a variety in that program. And again, I think you'd be hard pressed to find any school in the country that is invested in that topic than the University of Tennessee. And it's a year-round program, and do we need to continue to grow and evolve and improve? Yes, but every great organization is always looking that way. But again, we try to, bring in the different speakers and then focus on topics. And not only just when that speaker comes in, that topic, you move on to the next. It's constantly repeating the message all the time.
Finish up with Danny.
Coach, I just noticed a couple absences from the online roster. Has George Bullock moved on? Did Corte Sapp get his medical red shirt? Is there an Alexis Johnson update? And what's Dave Lawson's current status with the team?
Boy, you're throwing a lot of questions at me there. All right, Corte Sapp, yes, he was able to gain the red shirt. And a lot of times that doesn't have to be put in for a while, so we have plenty of time, but I've been told that he will be granted that, so we'll see, but I've been told that. In terms of Dave Lawson is in charge of our entire strength and conditioning program as an athletic department. He still remains in that role. Mike Sershin is doing a little bit more of the day-to-day, handles of the football program in and of itself, but Dave Lawson is still here and a key member of our staff. What was your other one?
Alexis and George.
No change on Alexis Johnson. And George Bullock, yes, he's graduated and he's moving on to the next phase in his life. And we're very thankful to him, and we're going to help him every way we can.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll have Beth and